In simple words, IAAD is a not-for-profit organization. We established the organization in 2015, and the main aim at the original set was to answer to different needs in the schooling sphere in the Turkey, and obviously this at this time the most important aspect was to understand the special real needs of the schooling system in different aspects connected, for instance, with a safer environment at school, and to some extent a certain dimension of the well-being that you would like to find in the schooling system at all levels, not only, of course, the pupils and the students as such, but also the staff, the school staff, the teachers, and to some extent, of course, connected with the parental field. That was the original, let's say, objective. But after 7 years of activities, we little by little entered in more dimensions, such as the food systems, such as agriculture systems, and ICT dimension of digital era, considering that lots of emerging technologies are more and more integrating our day-to-day life. And if I would say in one sentence, what would IAAD actually perform? It's basically we are contributing to give answers and solutions at the interface between technology, science, engineering, businesses also, and the society. And to wrap up a little bit these dimensions, we are focusing in trying to contribute also on the policy and governance dimension. That's what I would say. IAAD actually started thanks to the person who is my wife today. Actually, we were invited by her school to write a project. And this project was about trying to find solutions in her school regarding the extraordinary, let's say, setting context, the social context of the immigration started in 2011. And well, we wrote this project together for the school, and this project was selected for funding in 2015. And in order to give a structure actually to our contribution to the management of the project, we had to establish a legal entity. So IAAD actually started to answer a purpose of practicing and implementing a project under Erasmus Plus program. Yeah, we actually designed a plan for 3 years back in 2015. I remember spending some time in June by the Bosphorus. We went to a very nice place with a group of students. And we were actually waiting for the answer for this so-called project that we worked together on e-care at the time. And we proposed to define a 3 years plan to set up a network, actually to build a network of schools comparable, let's say, to what you can find online on e-twinning system for Erasmus Plus, etc. At the time also, there were lots of development in Turkey regarding an upcoming, let's say, development program for the country, which is called Vision 2023. So let's say 2015 and this idea of 23 gave us a first stage, a first step, 2015, 2017, 18, to reach a certain, let's say, a certain important structure, which is who are we going to work with actually if we want to go forward and contribute to different kind of dimensions of the schooling sphere. So basically our main aim at the time was to try to structure a solid networking of teachers, school staff, and of course, let's call them the actors of the schooling sphere and the schooling system in Turkey, which is something we achieved actually somewhere in March, April 2018 with our forum. So we have 57 colleagues developing with us in this forum. Of course, at the time, it was a forum dedicated to the schooling sphere. So it's still today, but we have been evolving at the time. So at least the first phase was that. Achieve a forum. We achieved a forum. Now we have 57 colleagues really active. Out of these 57, 25 colleagues are members actually of IAAD. And we are progressing now from different dimensions of the schooling sphere, from the original upper secondary school to even universities. So one of the most recent achievements with IAAD is we are about to celebrate the protocol with the University of Muğla in Turkey. We had actually to reorganize and structure our association to be able to jump in a higher dimension together with the universities. And hopefully until March, April this year, we will have this protocol established with the university to start developing also with the, let's say, the university level, and also to some extent trying to reach more actors of the schooling environment that are not the usual well-known roles of actors, teachers, lecturers, educators, etc., etc. But we're trying beyond that with, for instance, a business woman and businessman. We have a very recent project that we initiated in October called STEAM for Girls. And this is, for instance, something that we are integrating also in Project FEMaLe, because it concerns, of course, women and girls. And you see, we try to integrate the different projects that are entering in our universe in order to create more momentum and maximize impact. Being part of the European panorama of research and innovation action is quite an interesting, let's say, channel for development of different ideas, sharing ideas, knowledge sharing. And it's critical for IAAD, of course, to position itself in the bigger dimension of the European continent, regardless any kind of economic or political, let's say, pillar. You know, we are, of course, we are not for profit. This is obvious. We are also non-governmental, although the structure and the legal structure of a non-governmental organization, whatever you are in Turkey or anywhere in the world, abides a very specific criteria, etc., that we don't necessarily have, but we mathematically are non-governmental. However, we all, of course, always develop in let's say, policy and governance dimension, in order, of course, to exactly share the knowledge, exchange ideas, and try contribute to maybe what we could call a more participative governance. So, which means more people, more citizens, more voice from the society in the decision-making process. So it's obvious that we have much more capabilities to achieve different objectives together with our fellow friends from Europe, rather than maybe with a more regional. For instance, most of the time we read on the papers Balkan countries, etc., etc. We have a policy at IAAD. We don't say Balkan, because we understand that this term is very often used in different ways that are not representative of the richness of the so-called Balkan countries. So we say Southeast Europe, which is a term that you can find in many, many papers from researchers who actually claim that communication is everything. And I'm sure that Aarhus University is one of the champions that I know on communication, who reveals an importance of what we say, our daily language. And in this context, it's obvious that of course, we have initiatives that are completely targeted Black Sea. Okay, for instance, we are preparing different ideas on pollution, marine pollution, with very specific countries around the Black Sea. But this is only a part of the dimension of IAAD. IAAD is really aiming, at least hopefully in the next until 25, and then there is another step until 2030. IAAD is aiming at being part of the European research and innovation action panorama. That's the objective. So that's why we are very glad and very privileged and motivated to go forward and to participate in such kind of projects such as FEMaLe. We can think about different dimensions. One is very obvious, is our efforts in trying to contributing in citizen science. Citizen science is a possibility to actually, capitalize the ideas and the vision of people who are absolutely not equipped as a scientist or as engineers or technicians, and who may come up with some approaches and some ideas that would be what we called in the buzzword out of the box. A typical practical example, if we think about health and care, is, for instance, the ideas that we've been discussing and that had been developed by equipping in the project B Sports that just ended, which is connected with the social, a more social science and humanities approach on practicing with the general practitioners. So what we really try to do is to try to first we engage people. We try to raise awareness on a different subject. For instance, if we speak specifically on the endometriosis, we engage little villages, such as the village of Oranje, which is a fishing with maybe little more than 50 inhabitants. The village of Yeşilizümlü, with a little more than 110 inhabitants. And we discuss about endometriosis. And we approach, we face different challenges. The society is in Turkey is extremely differs a lot from region to region, from town to town, cities to cities. So we try to construct the idea of trying to discuss about something and trying to discuss about their own experience to share, and how this experience can actually contribute to help scientists to integrate a few ideas in their research. So this is the first step, engaging. Then we try to connect them. We connect Oranje with a Yeşilizümlü with Gökçek, etc., etc. We try to create a community of practice, which is also a buzzword, but actually to represent pretty much what we have in mind. And once we have this community on practice, we are ready to actually empower. And this empowerment goes via workshops with also study visits. We've been visiting on the 3rd of January. We organized the study visit at the Faculty of Health and Science at the University of Moulins with a group of colleagues. And we met a person who is responsible, Monat is responsible of the university students who are facing different challenges. Either it's really disability as such as impairment, or for instance, mobility, etc., or students with only certain disorders. It goes from diabetes to others. So some colleagues, for instance, are suffering a lot from psoriasis, and actually it's troubling pretty much their life. Some cases, it's a bit complicated sometimes, but it's actually nothing, let's say, very serious. But it's extremely impactful in their student life, such is endometriosis condition. So we met this professor, this lecturer, and we had a discussion, a debate about endometriosis, etc., etc. So you see, by empowerment, we don't mean actually equipping people to be scientists, but we're trying to connect their experience, their day-to-day experience, with what's going on in the universities and the research organizations and in the businesses developing machine learning and imagery in order to answer to different needs of the health and care sector. So this is a complex, maybe not complex, an extended answer to try to explain how we try to bring this voice to the science panorama. First of all, open science for us is determined by the fact that we try to make us accessible whatever we know to all. So especially in the scientific community. So this is the first, let's say, our first idea of what is open science. I'm in my laboratory together with Ayrton, my colleague Gurkem. We are developing an idea on a very specific strain of algae, and we discover something that is fantastic for our fertilizers. We give it to everyone. That's open science. And we actually try to see if other colleagues are working on this matter. On a particular domain of endometriosis, because health and care is not our, let's say, main capabilities and strengths, we are thanks to Project FEMaLe, we are actually building it with 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken. But there is this colleague, Murat, from the university, plus 3 or 4 colleagues. So we hope that next year we plan to have a team, really build up on science and health and care, and particularly endometriosis, thanks to FEMaLe. First, to think about a spin-off project, and second, to try to develop more about endometriosis in Turkey. So by open, we understand at the first step, open to other scientists, open to other engineers, open to other technicians, other policymakers, open to other business women and men. When it comes to the people, I would come back to the idea of the citizen science. We're trying, by open, we're trying to make possible that more, and especially more young people actually enter the research and innovation action panorama, even before the university. How? Via the museums. There are different museums. Actually, there are places that are not even a museum. So we started to create, we have some kind of a program. We don't have even a name for the program, but we're trying to pilot it. And actually, it's some kind of a seed in which we actually try to find a room. Here, for instance, in the specific village of Oranje. And it's all about fisheries and etc. So we found a room, we rented a room, and this room is actually a living lab. And in this living lab, we started, for instance, the living lab with cooking session and how to cook that fish in that way, etc., etc. But then it opened a group on cultural heritage and tradition and habits and etc. So they are working about that. Food, cuisine from Oranje. And then a colleague agriculture showed up and discussed about the situation of honey and the problem of the bees, etc. We open a living lab about that, and we have a group, etc., etc., etc. And actually, this is kind of a seed for us to explore the possibility, maybe, to actually generate a citizen science initiative. Because citizen science is something extreme. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I understand from my colleagues expert that it's something structured. You don't call citizen science anything that is connected with someone who is not a scientist doing something scientific. Okay, it's not like that. No, it's much more structured than that. So this is a seed. These living labs are seed, and actually these living labs are connected to the project Cities 2030 and the project Diva3 that IAAD is developing. And we probably will not open a living lab about that in Oranje, but we may open a living lab about endometriosis in Mula together with the university, because it's a bit more complex situation. First, women. So when I say complex, it means by complex in a project endometriosis, we mean it's intimate. You know, wherever you are in the world, a woman or a man, it's always difficult to talk about something very personal, such as something like endometriosis. Maybe it's connected with the fact that it's something connected with a very special part of our body, which is our reproduction. Okay, if I use this term, because I'm not an expert, a scientist, but the fact is, it's very difficult for people to share their personal. Some people, they have absolutely no problem, like me. Others, it's difficult. The majority is difficult. So it's a bit sensitive, this living lab. So anyway, just to come back to this situation about open science, these living labs are seeds for potentially generate citizen science initiatives supervised by the University of Moulins. Depending on the subject, it would be different kind of faculties. We are going to open a living lab, for instance, on creativity and arts, together with a colleague called Denise. Denise is an artist, painter, graphic designer, and she will, of course, try to establish different kind of activities. So you see, this is the to summarize, open for scientists, open for, let's say, experts. We find, we share, and open also. We try and engage and activate people, young people, at early stage to enter the world of science, engineering, and technology, policy making, and businesses, in order to have some kind of you know, we went to school the other day, to summarize, and we were discussing about this, and I say, hey, we should create what we call an atelier workshop. Let's open a extracurricular workshop in the school about the living lab. What is living lab? How to, and these kids, they are aged 4 to 5, 4 to 6. They are very little kids. But the manager, the school manager, found it very interesting too. So you see, it's something evolving also according to the reactivity that sometimes we find in during our development, during the implementation of different activities. With the former questions, we looked at different activities actually engaging, let's say, different practice in which you engage actually people doing things, etc., and knowledge sharing, etc. Here, I would say that the main channel, we use basically social media. We are restructuring the website of IAAD to create to make it really a beacon, because right now the website is something there because we needed it. So we're working on a new format that would engage more. So that answers exactly these questions. So I would say social media, website, but also, and fundamentally, it works really well here in Turkey. We started a program with the University of Moulins again. I'm repeating this university all the time because that's the university with which we found really an incredible communication and motivation at so many dimensions that we had to actually create groups and subgroups in order to manage all these ideas and all these dimensions. Some are very urgent. They are the projects that are ongoing at IAAD. So these are the priority. And one way we try to first raise awareness, second trigger uptake, is to gather people in a room. The fact that we for instance, on the 2nd of December, we organized a conference workshop with 2 projects, Project Lingo Plus and Project FEMaLe. Lingo Plus is a project about teaching and learning in a foreign language. So here in Turkey, it's basically Turkish Arabic, Turkish English, Turkish German. So we combine these 2 dimensions with the health faculty of the university, plus the faculty of letters of that university. And we introduced the project Lingo Plus and FEMaLe. We explained how it is important actually to develop education and training in different, at least in Turkish, but also in English. So it opens more possibilities. And when it came to the endometriosis subject particularly, we discussed with the scientists and the lecturers and researchers in the room how to actually create a two-ways communication channel that would generate the possibility for uptake within Project FEMaLe. So FEMaLe project tells us, we understand, we transmit, and we develop in Turkey. We understand, we structure, we transmit to FEMaLe. That's within the channel of the project. And of course, how to reach higher grounds, no offense intended, in Turkey for the so of course there are different entities in Turkey which are very important to work with. So we work with Közgeb, we work with TÜBİTAK, and of course we work also with fellow colleagues from other universities, the University of Izmir, the University of Isparta, except the university, the Technical University of Gebze, Istanbul Technical University, Hacettepe University in Ankara. And I hope not all of them will see this interview because I'm forgetting so much colleagues and so much friends. So this is how we try to, it's a bit more challenging to actually generate the uptake, so make that they take. This is a bit more challenging, but at least informing and telling this is here, this is available. We try to encourage the uptake, right? And of course, not this year, but before, in the last year of the Project FEMaLe, what we will aim to discuss with Ulrich and colleagues would be to see what the project is actually planning on, you know, disseminating to, for instance, the European clouds, platforms, networks, so that we can also try to contribute to this activity. One of the best, maybe most known cloud is the European Open Science Cloud, but there are many others, of course. There's two very difficult dimension here. There's dimension which is the base, okay, innovation base, baseline, reference, starting point, platform, and then the growth of it. And these are actually questions that are in the hands and minds of all inventors. And that's why, for instance, probably, of course, there are many other obstacles and hurdles, but one of the reasons maybe why our world didn't evolve faster when you think about the different centuries is probably because it was not so easy, so obvious to find how to create a baseline and to grow. So that's why we have, you know, very separate phases of evolution. It's not like, okay, puff, we find it and it's exponential. Actually, it's not. It's rather, I would say, logarithmic, not exponential. But here we are. Anyway, I'm not going to debate too much about this because I'm not an expert. Anyway, what we really try to you know, we understand that maybe the place where IAAD might be the let's say might be the best fit is to actually again come back to the idea of the people. We people, we know, we do, we think, etc. We are different people, from the brilliant minds of researchers, scientists, to a woman at home that just had a baby and she's helping her baby to develop, to grow, and also she's working, and then she's integrated in the society and the parental sphere and the larger parental sphere and elderlies, etc., etc. So we are so many peoples, and we actually are the source of everything. So when you think about innovation, and we think about connected research, connected engineering, connected technicalities, connected policy, connected business, and connected social innovation, we think, okay, what can we do with people? So in order to create this platform, again, we try to connect, engage, and empower people. If we look at endometriosis, again, we look at all the agents of change of the society, which are start with actually the persons and goes to the engineers and to the scientists, people who are actually spend their life studying in order to try to find answers. And all these people, we gather them together and try to create this so-called baseline, this so-called platform, including, of course, what we call a bit maybe presumptuously, dynamic interactive knowledge baseline. So we have a interactive dynamic knowledge baseline for agroecology, for endometriosis, for etc., etc. So here, once we have the people, and once we manage to understand that we have a baseline understanding, for instance, Project FEMaLe is going to generate lots of data, lots of insight, lots of information. It's going to generate a knowledge baseline on the endometriosis. And so this is exactly what we do here. And this is exactly what we are doing at partnership level in Project FEMaLe. Now, once we have this knowledge baseline, this knowledge baseline may be structured by physical systems, devices, algorithm. Well, algorithm we may discuss about the physicality of algorithm, but anyway, you understand what I mean. That there will be things making things work, and then there will be minds and people who can share experience. So you have two resources, okay? And FEMaLe is going to bring two resources that do not really have a voice, and human resources who can actually say, share, and exchange. These two dimensions are embody the baseline. Now, in order to make it grow, again, the people, multipliers, the fact that you organize such events like hackathons, for instance, to some extent assist making an idea grow or structure or enhance, etc. So we understand that here we can contribute, of course, on the side of the machinery and ICT, etc., on endometriosis. We are not, let's say, fit for this kind of development, but we are fit for the human resources part. So we have the possibility to propose different activities and different, let's say, platforms to facilitate, foster, and multiply knowledge. Also, for instance, take a very practical example, the schooling sphere. No offense intended, but the other day I was invited to let's say, informal, non-formal conference in a school. It's a school, it's a lycée, so it's a upper secondary school, 15 student aged 15 to 18. And of course, I took the opportunity to introduce well, the topic of the presentation was about the social aspect, social dimension of the school, and especially the engagement and the more participation from the students in the schooling sphere. And I have to be very honest with you, I don't know exactly how I managed, but I actually structured my presentation, again combining the project B Sport and the project and FEMaLe. And to do so, I explained that in the school, again, my conversation always goes around people, society, different cultural background, different parental background, blah, blah, blah. And all this makes a meet at school. Also meet at the company, at the office. It meets us everywhere. But you see, all this do not really meet inside the room between a doctor and a patient. In this context, it's a bit different. Whereas in the school, everybody's there, everything is mixed. So, and I came up to let's say, to express and to present, of course, very superficially, endometriosis. And everybody was like, Endometriosis. What is endometriosis? Oh, this is endometriosis. Just this, the student, they came back at school with, I also do that because this is part of the engagement. I gave some duties. I look at the students and I say, okay, who wants to be part of our group at IAAD? Everybody say yes, because actually lots of them want to travel. There is a little trick about this, because you know these projects for many students, many people in Turkey connect with traveling abroad and augmenting their knowledge about what's going on over there. But this is only a little dimension of it, but there's always an attraction. Anyway, everybody say yes. So we created a group of I think 12 or 13 students in that school, in that class 11D. And this class is also a class who develops English learning, so they are preparing themselves to possibly study abroad. And IAAD take this class, integrate this class in Project FEMaLe. And now the second step is the parental sphere. And then we go further and further. You know, when you go to parents, you go to potentially businesses, because parents, they work somewhere. And maybe they don't work somewhere in a business, maybe they work somewhere in a government authority, etc., etc. So we explore this. So next meeting, that meeting was at school. Next meeting is with the parents and some representative of the school. And we are going to organize a workshop just to introduce a bit better Project FEMaLe. All right. But you see, just this little seed of endometriosis is what I call, to come back to your original question, which is how do you actually structure the baseline of knowledge and then make it grow? This is part of it. We are not going to go on giant steps here, but just the fact that all the students in that room have heard about endometriosis, have work to do about it, because I'm waiting for their, okay, next week, 2 weeks holidays. This Friday, my colleague is going to the school and is going to collect the one-pagers endometriosis information by each of the students. So they may have done some research. I have to be honest also, there is a little trick here. You see, we need to build our knowledge about what is endometriosis in Turkey. Of course, there is this association, which is in pretty much good contact with Aarhus University, the Association of Endometriosis, and our colleagues who are developing directly, because it's science, it's not for us. But the fact that these students are actually creating a one-page information about their vision about how we are on the endometriosis in Turkey is also a source of information for the project, you see? Not that I'm using the student, but this is integration. And then we are building different reports for Ulrich and for Aarhus University, of course. And it so happens that this material is actually something from the deep source of the society. So it might be interesting for researchers to read it at some point. So you see, within these first 2 years of the project, we've been collecting a lot of information. We've been creating this first step, which is engaging. Now, about 6 months ago, we started connecting. We connected different universities together. We connected different schools together. We have a fantastic school in Istanbul, in Bahçeşehir, who is very motivated also to engage. We have this school in Oranje, etc. And now we're going to enter the, let's say, the third phase of IAAD contribution, to some extent, besides work package 2, but to some extent also to Project FEMaLe, which is empowering people and preparing ground to structure knowledge and to make this knowledge grow. You see, everything is quite simple, logic and interconnected. Actually, all this, if you would summarize this in a sentence, I would say that you have to understand we're trying to interconnect things so that they are mutually supportive. You connect the people, you connect the university, you connect, let's say, the decision makers, and you make this mutually supportive, so you can actually build something from it. it's easy to say. It's very easy to say this sentence. We'll see in practice in December what we managed to achieve. But I'm confident. I'm very positive. It's an opportunity actually. This is an opportunity for me also to kind of unveil different activities that actually we've been doing for the last year and a half, and actually I still didn't communicate about this with Ulrich and our friends in the consortium, so they will know now. Our very limited and very humble tentative contribution to gender equality is to try to understand, gather the experts, enlarge the expertise group in order to integrate more and more and more knowledge, and try to contribute in Project FEMaLe with a few ideas that we proposed at the time to Ulrich to gather to assemble in Work Package 2. We are building a gender equality plan for IAAD. This plan means nothing without practice, and it means absolutely nothing without practice and, again, people engagement. So as a first, let's see here two dimensions, one that is really trivial and to some extent boring, and the other that might be more interesting because intuitively it might generate innovation as well. The boring part is gender balance. Whatever we do, we think 50-50. Whatever we do. There is a meeting. Do we have a good representation of men and women? Because sometimes, you know, there's 80% or 90% women in the room. This is not balanced. Okay, so there is this aspect of practicality. And this practicality is very interesting, very nice. Okay, we have 50-50, but it doesn't mean anything if we don't actually make something of it. So we have this situation of paying attention about balance, paying attention about the fact that whenever there is a subject, we try to be very careful to have a good representation of women and men about this particular subject. Okay, I'm going to say something so cliche, but if we think about cutting wood for the chimney for winter in the summer when the wood is very dry, what gender do you think immediately? A man, because we are framed for that. Our parents, society, photos, movies, you always see a man cutting wood with an axe. If you are from Norway, you may find much more women doing that. But anyway, experts, they say, we need to build synergy with other projects. So let's create the sister projects. And I tell them, why sister? Why woman? Why not brother? Sister family project. Why not brother family project? No, let's say cluster family project or whatever, but something neutral in terms of gender. You see, we tend to practice and to believe in what we say. So we have this in our gender equality plan. This is what I call trivial. We try to pay attention to our language and to our behavior and to what we use to express different ideas, so everything is as neutral as possible. This is trivial. Now, the interesting part of what we're trying to do to contribute in our best way to gender equality, let's say globally, not specifically for a policy aspect, is of course to try to understand how we can take from this gender balance and how this gender balance can actually trigger better and more than if only men or only women. And of course, at this point, I would say that IAAD do not encompass, let's say, incorporate expertise to do so. So we started discussing actually on the matter, especially because of Project Cities 2030, because in Project Cities 2030, we are responsible for a capacity building program in which gender is an important. You see, the same way I propose to explore gender in the universe, in the realm of endometriosis, I also proposed in Project Cities 2030 to explore the realm of gender in food system, how gender influence, how gender do this and do that. So here, on this matter, in order to enter the interesting aspect of gender balance, we are trying to identify a group of experts. This will probably happen in the second part of the year, because now you see most of the project, the big project that we have entered their second half, and we are, let's say, on the second step before the last step. And this is the right time, we understand, to structure, to create a baseline. Okay, we're trying to create a working group that would have expertise in gender. We have identified, of course, because of the trivial part, 3 women researchers and 3 men researchers from different universities in Turkey. We are also trying to identify about 10 CSOs like us, a civil society organization, in order to create this working group to start a reflection process. So we're going to organize different meetings with different formats. We're going to launch this idea probably somewhere in September, October. We have actually in mind a summer camp, sorry, in Turkey in July and August, probably like everywhere in the world, in the northern maybe part of the world. July and August, people have holidays, but sometimes colleagues, they meet, for very informal, I'm not saying by the pool or by the sea, but very informal way to relax about different ideas that happened between the 2 summers, between the last summer and this one, and reflect about the next September, June ahead. And we're planning to organize such a meeting. Generally, it's at a restaurant. We have a nice restaurant, with all the families and things. And we discussed about some ideas in a very relaxed way. And then at some point, we have maybe 1 hour, a bit more structured, because only the I would say the practitioners are together to actually structure a, 10 points plan or something. And there, this summer, we plan to try to organize something about what to do about gender. Okay, the trivial part we understand. It's very easy to understand. Take care of this. Don't use this picture, etc. But how to approach the innovation part? That's the most interesting part for us. But it's going to start in, and of course, this is part of work package 2 on Project FEMaLe. This is part of the because you see in the next coming weeks, if I remember well, yes, the first paper on ethical health and care system is due in April. A baseline, the white paper will be our baseline, because this consortium is building a white paper on ethical behavior, and then there is the other one in May in gender, and another one in June on civil research and innovation. These white papers are going to give us a baseline, a starting point. Plus, these white papers will be full of references, of course, to very good reading. And from that, we are committed to try to find 1 or 2 ideas that we could explore until December 24, and of course beyond, regarding this innovative part of the gender balance, so-called, or gender equality. Actually, equality may be, of course, more appropriate rather than just the trio. Yeah, that's how I would answer to that question. And we try to also integrate a lot, the controversy about gender equality, about gender identity. These researchers and these case studies from Norway, and also from other parts of the world, call our attention on, okay, everybody rushed, there was some kind of a rush on gender equality in the last 2 decades. The European Union established at the time the European Gender Equality Institute in, if I'm not mistaken, in Lithuania, etc., etc. There was this rush, there was this need. Fantastic, very, very welcome, very important. Now, rush also may suggest sometime precipitation, too much acceleration versus need of speed, controlled speed. Okay, when at this time Ayrton Senna entered his car, he was thinking about speeding like crazy, but not controlled. Unfortunately, this stupid accident. But whoever Formula One pilot enter a car, they want to speed at the maximum, but they want to control it. So maybe here's some situation that, and this is also okay because gender equality. Who knows about gender equality? Nobody knows about gender equality and gender identity. Everything is evolving. Everything is changing. Researchers are discovering new molecules and new cells mechanisms every by the week. So it's normal also that maybe this it's all part, of course, of everything is a bit political. So it's all part also about the political aspect and the European Union, let's say, will to structure some kind of a model. Yeah, we proposed our contribution at the time to Aarhus University via the invitation from AllRight because we understood that it would be really interesting. You see, FEMaLe was a project at inception, very technology, engineering, and science, and we proposed to AllRight to social science and humanity dimension, and especially that would be pertinent to the purpose of the project, which is ethics, which is gender, which is responsible research and innovation. But for instance, we could have gone much more citizen science, living. But okay, we just integrated these 3 dimensions, and it's very happy and a privilege for us to have the possibility to lead on this, and of course to contribute to assist our colleagues on the task within the work package. So the citizen aspect, the social aspect, the social science and humanity aspect was the motivation, the driver for our participation and the kind invitation from Aarhus University. Our practical responsibility is to coordinate, supervise, and assist our colleagues to implement work activities. There are 4 activities, all of course interconnected and mutual. So the first year, let's say the first part of the project, we especially let's say focused on gathering information, because you see in this first part most of the partners were actually building the case, building this lots of work on research, etc. So there was not a focus on especially how to integrate this social science and humanity dimension in the work, because it was being done. Now it's time. Now the work is there is a lot of achievement already after, let's say, I would say September, October, and since October and let's say until June, we are actually providing materials on these white papers on ethics, gender, and research, responsible research innovation. So our role is to coordinate and to supervise that. And once we have the main achievement of this work package 2, we have to actually, as I answered a moment ago to this question about generating a knowledge baseline and growing this knowledge baseline. That's the second phase, the phase between, let's say, I would say June, let's say September this year and December 24. Well, on the very first day that we knew FEMaLe was approved, the first thing I did, I circulated the idea at a very initial conversation with the University of Mula, for instance. Okay, we're talking about 20, let's say, I don't know, I remember more or less mid-20 September, etc. We started to discuss with them how we would, in the perspective of Project Cities 2030. Then we are informed that FEMaLe project is approved. We'll contact my colleague Ayrton and say, is it possible to also develop with the Faculty of Health and Science? Yes, why not? We have the project FEMaLe. Yes, okay, let's have a meeting with the rector, etc., etc. So on the very first day, basically, FEMaLe was an incredible achievement for IAAD as a partner, as a participant. And since then, of course, thanks to a little bit of marketing on social media, website, etc., we had received some attention from different colleagues throughout the European Union. And most importantly, we've been trying our best to motivate ORIC and Aarhus University and EQUIP to think about possible new proposals to develop together based on trying to capitalize on the project FEMaLe. So since the start is a very important pipeline for IAAD. The main aim of IAAD with project FEMaLe is to have the possibility to contribute to the development of ideas and research and innovation and improvement and enhancement in the field of endometriosis in Turkey. And we wish to do so with our friends from Turkey and also from different countries in the world. I have to tell you, for instance, that I opened already a channel with Brazil. I was born in Brazil, so it's not very difficult for me to open these channels. With Portugal, same reason. Friends, to summarize, all the partners that I have in different projects that IAAD is running are informed about FEMaLe, are informed about endometriosis, and I invited them about a year ago to help me find in their country, and that includes Mozambique, South Africa, that includes Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, etc., to identify a contact person, business researcher or whatever, to create this network, this group, that could potentially contribute to Project FEMaLe. That's the first. And so that's dissemination, communication, basically. And also, to some extent, explore the possibility to create new proposals, new ideas, new project initiatives, be aware of conferences, of events, etc., so that IAAD may be able to capitalize in its participation in Project FEMaLe and therefore contribute to the debate and maybe, why not, become a partner again in another initiative? Why not? So that's the idea. To be very honest, it's not fair to answer this question because I'm the full part of IAAD. I'm part of the engine. It would be more transparent and more objective to ask this question to my fellow colleagues. However, I trust that so far, and I refer here to work package 1, half double methodology, we are still, I would say, below what I would expect in a consortium from such a partner as IAAD. We still have, as a partner contributing to Project FEMaLe, to kind of structure more our contribution and make it a bit more practical and engage more with the partner. Because you see, in the first period of the project, partners were really, really concerned and motivated and active in their deliverables and in their making things ready. And you know, from the very beginning, surveys and consent forms from colleagues from Denmark to different activities in the project. This first part of the project was vital in terms of achieving very important technical, scientific, engineering results. So we've been I would say this didn't provide from self-motivation, let's say, from IAAD. IAAD, I think, would have been a bit would have benefited to be more active in this first period of the project. However, we are since October, we are now been building up and preparing a really extensive number of activities and a very important program. I've been discussing this program very slightly with ORIC during a call before the end of last year, and we are finalizing this material to start let's say on the probably as soon as possible in February. Actually, there are communications developing on webinars and short conferences, short workshops, in order to start building up concrete ideas, concrete and specific material for the upcoming white papers, which is work package 2, and around that, the bigger picture of the project. So to simplify the answer, I would say that our added value is still building and still to come and integrate the project, but not yet. Well, I don't know if I, at least I don't see an endometriosis as a, let's say, as a thematic, as a context, as a need, as a idea calling or connected, correlated with a problem. Because endometriosis as such is not a problem. It's what is around it which is the problem. For instance, it's a problem that we couldn't find still some excellent methods to identify and diagnose endometriosis as early as possible. This is a problem. But actually, this is not exactly connected to endometriosis. It's connected with, I don't know, with intellectual capacity of researchers and colleagues. So here, I would answer to this question that way. I trust that same as the species, animals and things, it is said that there are so many species, so many living things that we have no idea. They are out there, but we didn't find them yet. Some of them actually are already extinct and we never knew about them anyway. So you see, endometriosis seems to be such a challenging condition that is actually proposing to our colleagues, inventors and thinkers so many challenges combined with everything else in our day-to-day life, from economic inflation as in Turkey, or lack of job or whatever. It's really, I would say that I think maybe we can say one of the major challenge, what is very important in our opinion as IAAD, is make the condition or the disease, I'm not sure which term, be known. Make people understand. There is this simple thing that, hey, don't judge a book by its covers. Don't judge the face of a person you see by its features. If you see a sad face or I don't know, a harsh face, maybe the person is going through a difficult time. Maybe look at our colleague. Recently, I didn't answer to her yet, but I'm going to her. She lost a very important member of her family. What can go through the mind of a people? You don't know. So the same way, there is this saying, don't judge by looking by the, I would say, make endometriosis known, not understood, but at least known. And maybe, again, here, one of the particularity of this condition or disease that may offer an incredible challenge is connected with the fact that it's located in the part of our body, okay, our reproduction body, our women, which may represent a challenge to discuss about, to open about, to etc. about in different kind of setting, in different kind of society. And here, I'm not thinking about Turkey in particularity. Take, for instance, a certain area in England. Try to discuss this at home. You want to be able to. So it's a general situation, because we are, you see, just very quickly, I studied in France, and I was in a lycée in France, which was actually a laboratory. And when we were 15 in France, this was not part of the national program. This was part only on specific institution, public college, upper secondary schools. And I learned everything you can possibly imagine, even cancers, about reproduction systems when I was 15, when I was in this, everything. Same with ecology. So we had anatomy, ecology, and something else I don't remember. And the teacher, I mean, these people were, so you see, when you have the possibility to approach a knowledge very early, very soon, you better prepared, we better informed. So here, our challenge is, I expected, of course, but when I said in this classroom, have you ever heard about endometriosis? And then I showed the picture. I mean, it was a totally okay picture, but it was a woman, etc. Of course, some teachers say, oh, we have to make this a very, we have to prepare some poster about it. A female project, endometriosis, let's put it at the school. But it's not so easy because, you know, you have authorizations and etc. etc. Okay, so, etc. etc. You see, so bigger problem, make it known, inform people. Yeah, basically, and maybe, you know, there are different ideas from experts that can come up, especially experts from the marketing field, you know, television, radios. People expert in communication should be involved in this. Let's say that I'm limitless. Obviously, this is my personal opinion. It doesn't engage anyone at IAAD, but for me, health and education is some kind of a basis, because if you have health and education, actually there are many things, including animal extension or climate change, that you would actually understand and contribute to fight, because you have education, you are educated, you know. So obviously here I would according to the you know, the basics, I would gather experts, people who are capable to tell me, to define the specific channels in which we should invest. Should we invest in cell research, or should we invest in machine learning, or whatever we need to invest? But it's obvious that to me, education and health is our priority in life, because it solves so many problems just with health. And so I don't know, I would say that whatever is needed, if I'm limitless, whatever is needed, I would, of course, I'm not a specialist. I don't know exactly, for instance, one of the countries I know best is France. I don't know exactly the percentage they invest, they give in the budget, the annual budget on health, but I know it's probably really bad, because everybody's complaining in France. So I would completely change that, you know. But then again, it's a matter of other things, you know, economy and war and whatever. So yeah, I would definitely be in favor. I would rather be a Ministry of Education or Ministry of Health rather than I don't know, for the good of the country, Minister of Defense or Minister of Economy.